And you also come from just a complete splitting of anger. You have to usually choose sides. Usually, there's some people who believe that the mom is at fault or the dad is at fault, and children become triangulated, and that's the word I wanted to use. And that just means that they become the third wheel in the relationship, or they or siblings begin to triangulate with one another. If you have three siblings, two may be close, and then there's an issue between the two, and then instead of telling the person you're upset, you may go to the third person for support and just to hear your side. So there's a lot of fragmentation and there's a lot of triangulating in the family of origin when there is a divorce. Just as there is in Susie and Bob's family, there is a pitting, there is taking sides. Now they're having to have holidays separately, and they're having to have their lives separately, and they're no longer a unit. And that is the impact of divorce. There's role confusion. Sounds like Susie is now taking on the role as the parent, and that happens when there is divorce, and the term is called parentification. When children act like adults, or when children are given the role to take care of the parents or take care of the family, they take on the term called parentification. And now they feel responsible to keep the family together, like Susie. They feel responsible financially. And so Susie, in this case, is the identified, parentified child. She is the one who feels responsible to bring peace to the family. She is the one who feels responsible to financially undergird the family. She is taking on the emotional strain, the financial strain of the family, which is not her role to do. But she has taken on that role, which is dangerous because now the siblings don't even get to be siblings. One becomes the parent. Not only is Susie the mediator, but she's the financial one because remember, grandma left her $6 million. So now she is no longer a peer with her siblings. She is now parentified. She is now the source of their income, the source of their problems. So now they don't even have a sister. For many of us, or you may have encountered relationships like that where your siblings were given too much responsibility, where they were able to spank you, where they had to watch you, where they told on you, they had to parent you, and they were not able to be your sibling because your parent wasn't there. So your sibling became your parent. That is disruption. That is disruption, and it's disruptive to the family unit because children are children. Children should not be forced in a family. And we do it. Sometimes we make one child the responsible one, and it's like they're a co-parent, but that's triangulating because parents have specific roles. They are supposed to be the sacrificers, the source of the emotional needs, financial need, whatever it is. And yes, there is a sibling relationship where siblings help each other. But in this case, in many cases of dysfunction, one person becomes the responsible one who is always there, who takes care of everyone, and they become the identified pseudo-parent. So that's Susie's role, and it's obvious that she's stressed out, and it's obvious that she can't raise two families because her family is now suffering because she has dedicated her time to her family of origin. It is important to understand that in a family unit, you have to understand that yes, you come from a family, you get your morals from a family, you get your love and you get your beginning from a family. But when you become an adult, you have to move into a relationship where you become the sustainer and the creator of your family. And so you have to decide with your spouse how you're going to deal with your families of origin, or you're going to have this disruption in the family. So you have to know that if Susie's upset with Bob because he's upset with Susie about how much time she spends in her family, now both families of origin are probably upset. And they're probably looking at it like Bob is trying to keep the finances from us. Bob is trying to tell Susie what to do. And Susie's family is probably looking at it like Susie's family, they abuse Susie. And so it's just a lot of chaos and there's a lot of dysfunction. And if there's going to be unity, there has to be order. It has to be that you're able to look at and decide. Remember, we talked about our 6 elements, but part of the elements in the boundaries is having the structure of what the parents' role, even if they're divorced, what their role and responsibility is, what the role of the children are, and how is the family going to interact as an extended family members, right? So they have to decide. The primary goal for Susie should be in multi-generational families is to decide what her and Bob want to bring from the family and build her own family while respecting and loving her family of origin, but transitioning from the role she has with her family and giving more support to her, to building her own home. Because sometimes parents will ask you to fix something that you didn't break. Susie did not break her home. Her parents broke that home when they decided to divorce. We don't give the circumstances of why they divorced. We're not saying it was not for safety or whatever, but even when parents divorce, it is their responsibility to keep the integrity of what's left of the unity of the family. That's still their response. You cannot, in good effort, divorce your family because you've had a divorce. So the roles are so confused that they have to get back in order. They have to get the structure back because everyone is discombobulated. So goes the head, so goes the body. The parents are not in their position, and as a result, Susie's not in her position. Her siblings are not in their position. So they're discombobulated because of the divorce and because of the role confusion, because of the triangulation, and because of the unhealthy attachment style. In families, if you're going to be a successful unit, you have to have a healthy attachment. This is where you learn everything about the way you connect to other people. So in a family unit, if respect and validation is not given, and if there isn't a celebration of individuality, the family comes together in enmeshment and there is no individual. And that may seem comforting and loving, and it is an insecure attachment way to just be enmeshed and there is no individuality. So it's like one band, one sound, and one thinker and one mover, and that's not healthy. And even in a culture of poverty, that happens a lot because you need each other to survive financially. This doesn't happen as much in families where there's financial independence. But wherever there's a lack of emotional independence or financial independence, families are more likely to be enmeshed. And that means that they have no individuality. They're just one cell, right? And so while that sounds loving, the idea is to be interconnected, meaning that you are one person in a system, but you are still individualized. You still have your thoughts, you still have your hopes, you still have your dreams, and you can do both. You can be individualized and still be a part of a family. You can be independent and still be interdependent, meaning that you take care of yourself and then you also join with your family for support. So in dysfunctional units, what happens is there's a lack of healthy attachment. There is the anxious attachment style where people are so nervous, they're just so dependent. They're afraid to make decisions on their own, and they are afraid to be left out. They're heavily responsive when they see something maybe on the internet that people are going out without them. So they're always in this state of anxious attachment, meaning that I can't make this decision on my own. I need my family member. I need this and I need that. And I can see that being logical for Susie's family because the parents are no longer operating as the foundation. So now everyone is disruptive and everyone is cleaving to Susie for a sense of stability, which is creating the enmeshment. Whereas with Bob's family, They have structure. You know, his parents have been married, and they are, you know, they have a church background. So they want what's best for Bob, but they don't intrude. They're allowing Bob to leave and cleave and know that they love him, and they are not intimidated by his choices or his desire to build a family with Susie. But the anxious attachment, it creates the enmeshment. And then there's the disengaged, because we see disengaged meaning that there is a lack of connection and there's almost just avoidance. Some of the family members don't speak to the dad anymore, and some of the family members don't speak to the mom. And that's the other side of the creation of the unhealthy attachment, where you just no longer want to deal with your family members because of the conflict, because of the confusion. And that is what her family is being plagued with. This is the attack on her family, is the unhealthy attachment. In a healthy attachment, like I mentioned, there are good boundaries, and there's a celebration of uniqueness, that you can go away and celebrate Christmas with your family and come back at an organized time with your family. Because it sounds like what Bob is telling Susie is, you have two homes. You're responsible for taking care of your family of origin, and then you're not meeting your responsibility of building a home with me. So the role of creating that unity and that multi-generational unity, because you can have a relationship with your parents and your children can have a relationship with their grandparents, but it's important that the first agenda or the first goal is to establish unity within your family of origin, your new family of origin, that you commit to creating a life yourself. That's what adulthood is, and that's what boundaries entail, and healthy attachment is that now that you are an independent adult, you are now responsible for the rules, your core values. You're responsible for the love in your home. You're responsible for the commitment, for the forgiveness, the boundaries, and the validation. And you don't have to choose one family over the other. If you are following things appropriately, everyone has their assigned place and their structure. But the primary role is the family of your new family of origin.